Hello world, welcome back. I'm Karhu, the Great Bear of the North, and this is Planet Zoo. First, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Wise Guy for sponsoring the Koala Treetop Trek. It's very wonderful of them. And also, I would like, and if you want to sponsor the Koala Treetop Trek or the Red Kangaroos, you're more than welcome to do that. But I would also, I'm very proud to announce that we have given a name to the King Penguin habitat. It is now John Walker Wangquins, so Stealthy Assassin. Thank you very much for offering that suggestion. I hope that gives you as much joy as actually I hope it gives you more joy than it gave to me to name that after your stepdad. So there you go. Thank you very much for permission telling me to do that. And this is where we're going to put the harbor seals. And we're just waiting for them. The gray seals, rather. We're just waiting for them right now. But I'm thinking that the southern end is going to be like the southern end of the harbor seal, the gray seal territory, and the northern end is going to be the northern end of this enclosure is going to be more like the northern end. So it's going to have more snow. It's going to have a little bit more rock, whereas the southern end is going to have a little bit more foliage because that's like down like New York and Maine and that area. And oh yeah, there's a jaguar. I don't know. I don't think the jaguar is out. But let's get into the time lapse because, complete honesty, the first time I recorded this, the sound quality was terrible. It was gross. It was bad. I had this like in the back end, I couldn't get rid of it. I didn't know how. So I'm re-recording this after the fact. And this area has plenty for the gray seals, and I don't want to do too much to the underwater area because I don't like building the underwater viewing galleries. I think it's tedious. I don't like the pathing system, so it's just going to be above ground. And the main area that the guests are going to be viewing the gray seals from is going to be that dock area, which is nice because you're kind of right in the middle of the habitat. And I found out at this point in time that the gray seals, why do I keep calling them the harbor seals? The gray seals are actually extraordinarily not agile on land in this game, and I assume that also means real life, so the fences could actually be really much lower than I initially stated. It states that they need to be like 5.94 feet, which is almost as tall as I am, and there's no way they can jump 6 feet. Like that's just preposterous. But anyways, here we go. They need a lot of sand rather, and I'm starting to place these rocks, and this is before I realized that they weren't actually that nimble, so I had these visions of them like climbing onto the rocks to sun themselves or something, but they can't do any of that. The rocks are purely decorative. But that's how it is. I guess I really should have checked before I put all this effort into this lovely little rockwork siding. But because the penguins can like jump out of the water up onto the rocks and things like that, and they'll dive off the rocks into the water. And I figured that because the seals would do the same thing, but they don't, which is more than a little disappointing if I'm perfectly honest. But anyways, happy little rocks, guys. Happy little rocks. As tedious as this is sometimes, I do enjoy the rocks. I wish that I could have added more foliage, but they're already like 12% above what they need to be. And I'm disappointed at some of the foliage requirements, because honestly, by the time we get to the end of this, it just looks kind of empty and barren, and there's not much there. But it is a wonderful habitat for the creatures. They absolutely love it. They absolutely love it. So I could actually probably create this entire habitat without any walls at all, just by giving them a minor speed bump to hop over. Which, now that I think about it, that's what I should have done. That's really what I should have done. But this is what we're doing. This is what we're sticking with, because I don't like to. I like showing you guys the actual design process. I like showing you the game development process. I like showing you the development of my skills, such as they may be. And so I try not to. I'm not aiming for perfection. I'm aiming to show you a legitimate development of human ability. And I was really excited when those guys actually dropped off the front edge of that rock. It was quite fun. I did a little bit of a squee. Yes, I squeed. I'm not ashamed to admit that. So now we're just adding the education areas. I figure 3 or 4 of them should suffice. 3 of them with the educators talking point. I figure that would be enough. And it is, because our zoo's already at almost 5 stars anyways, so we don't really need to worry about it too much. So, and by the end of this episode, I think we're going to be at something like $160,000. So we have absolutely no need at all to boost the value of our zoo. We're already doing very well. In fact, I think I'm also going to put a guest cap on it. And I just want to explain one of the things that I do with foliage and why I bury the trees so much is I think the trees are way too large to be in a zoo, because like that cedar, the giant red cedar that I just placed, would take centuries to grow. And if this is a zoo with relatively recent landscaping, there's no way the tree is going to be that big. So unless your entire idea is that it's like a wildlife preserve and the trees were there beforehand, then sure, they can be fully grown, but otherwise they're not going to be that big. So I just use them as like the bushes and the foliage, and some of the faster growing trees like the birches and things like that will be a little bit taller, left to their full grown height. Or something like the eucalyptus trees, which I kind of assumed were like brought in whole specifically for the koalas, because koalas are extremely picky eaters, they're kind of jerks like that. But other than that, I figured a lot of the foliage would still be very much in its growing phase. And so they planted it over thickly at the beginning, just to kind of fill it out, and then 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road, then they'll start to get those trees. And I thought I could do like a timber, not a timber area, but like a little bit more of a tundra area over there with some of those moss covered rocks, but I did not like it at the end, and I just got rid of it. And so this planter is supposed to represent the more northern edge of their territory. It's going to be mostly low-lying bushes and lichen and things like that. A lot of scraggly trees, a lot less lush than the other side. But I do think that it does kind of come out. It does work for what it's supposed to be. And these white flowers are actually called Labrador tea, and they are from Labrador, which is where the gray seal habitat in a large part is. So I figured we should probably include them in that area. And it's at this point in time that I realized my guests are just walking, could just theoretically walk off the edge and be clubbed by seals, I guess. That was a horrible joke. And so I figured we should probably build some kind of a fence around it, some kind of a barrier, and I'm happy with it, with what ends up happening. It's not super fancy, but it doesn't need to be. It's nice, it's effective, it's like St. John's itself. It's not super full of itself, it's not a Toronto, and I can say that I'm from Toronto. It's not a Toronto, it's not a New York, it's certainly not a Montreal. It's St. John's, and they're not going to build a super fancy fence, they're just going to build a fence, and this is an effective fence. So I figured it kind of fit the area. And this is an area that I would like to actually sit down and like grab lunch and just sit and watch the seals. I kind of like this area, and I don't know what it is specifically about it, but I do really like this area. It's just got that kind of a charm to it. You know, it's not overly thought out like the Pueblo area. It's not overly dramatic like the car hall or anything like that, but it's simple, it's effective, it's lovely. And it just, because I use different tree colors, it also feels a little bit colder than the rest of the area. I don't know if that makes sense to any of you guys, but I do like how it works. What I don't like is how the seals can kind of go through the walls. But yeah, so this is where we're starting to add a little bit of snow just to make the northern end actually look a little bit colder, give them some of that snow territory. just to show that this is the progression, because on the other side of this fence is going to be the Arctic wolves, and then a little bit further down this watery path is going to be the polar bears, and then the polar bear and Arctic wolf path will connect up underneath the trains and go around to the southwestern Pueblo area. Still not sure how that transition is going to go, but it is going to go somehow. And I've seen other people do videos with these kind of dock floating things, and they're just floating there and they're not attached to anything, and they should be attached, otherwise you're just gonna go, you know, fly away in a stiff breeze and you're gonna get damaged. So I decided to anchor them to the ground. So I like it. It's again simple and effective, but I think that's exactly what we're going for. And I need to readjust my worker schedule, but because the exhibit animals always tend to complain and drop protesters. But yeah, this is when I decided they didn't like those rocks. Just get rid of them. They don't really work. Maybe add, you know, a little bit of rock work here, a little bit of rock work there. But yeah, so this is the end of the time lapse. Let's just give you a little bit of an overview of what I did so far. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's not all that complicated, but this is a perfectly fine habitat for these wonderful seals. They've got plenty of space, they got plenty of water, they got plenty of deep water. They need a little bit more sand, but yeah, I don't like the sand texture. And you know, the people are coming out. People are coming out, and this actually looks pretty cool, if you ask me. I like the way that this looks. I like how everything is kind of coming together. So I'm just gonna call it that is an episode. Oh, I love the fact that they actually can come on up through these. And the reason I didn't do more rock work is because these guys are really not very agile at all. I was expecting a lot more agility out of them, but because like all the pictures you see on Google or whatever are all they're on rocks and they're sunning, so I figured they could make it up there, but apparently they can't. Actually, you know what? Let's add some rocks here just to make it, give a reason for why there's this outcropping. Let's see if we can't make that a little bit more interesting. And, you know, just another rock. Another rock there. And just another... no, that one's too big. There we go, just this rock just in there, just to kind of bring everything together. There we go. And that's why that... oh, no, needs one more thing. Needs one more thing. And I think that thing is a giant... nope, not that one. That one's too big. Is something like this. There we go. And this one brings a little bit of a facade to this down part, because rocks don't just disappear into the middle like that. Into thin air like that. They've got something that goes a little bit further down. There we go. There we go. And so that was a little bit weird. I'm also not liking the fact that they can just swim right through here. Like, let's see if either one of these guys is going to do it. But I saw it a couple times. Yep, there we go. Just right through. It's a little bit creepy. Not gonna lie. But hey, it is what it is. But from the surface, this looks calm and ready. So there we go. We have the Seal Harbor exhibit, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see, please like, please subscribe, please comment. And most importantly, and I do mean this, have a fantastic day. Because my last few days have not been very good. But have a wonderful day, everybody. I'll see you next time in Planet Zoo. Bye!